Hello and welcome to my TLC presentation, Engaging Remote Educators, Insights from UAGC's Annual Faculty Experience Survey. My name is Cole McFarren. I am the Associate Director of Academic Technology and Innovation here at UAGC. So as we begin today, I want to take just a moment to encourage everybody to kind of reflect on, just take a moment of reflection and think about what are some ways that your institutions or universities or companies gather feedback from and about a remote workforce. I'm willing to bet if you're attending TLC, even if you do have some kind of a semblance of an on-ground, working environment, I would be willing to bet that there's a lot of remote workforce or a lot of work that happens remotely. So just kind of think about what are some of the ways that, your institution is currently gathering, feedback from and about that workforce, and think about how effective it is. Does it work well? Is it accurate? Is it timely? Is it meaningful? Is it used to implement change necessarily? So today we're going to talk about one of my favorite projects that I have the opportunity to work on here at UAGC. As I mentioned, I'm the Associate Director, Academic Technology and Innovation. So within my role, I have a unique opportunity to work work with our faculty, work with IT, work with leadership, implementing new technology into the classroom, measuring impact, seeing what that looks like. It's definitely exciting work, but probably one of my favorite projects that I get to work on each year is our annual faculty experience survey. So UAGC is a 100% online, mostly almost completely asynchronous classroom experience with a largely remote faculty body. Um, the great thing and one of my one of the strengths of this survey in my mind is the fact that it is a collaboration between academic affairs, faculty affairs, and this year for the first time our faculty council. So really excited about that, and I think that one of the reasons that we see a really high response rate. Actually, this was the most responses we've ever seen for this survey. We received 1,018 responses this time with a 49% response rate. And we had that open between March 21st and April 21st of 2025. But I think that one of the reasons that we see such a high response rate for this survey is that we really do focus on, one comprehensive survey for our faculty instead of, trying to hit them every month. We still hit them with random ad hoc surveys and questionnaires and things like that pretty consistently. However, we really try to, kind of package a lot of different information into this one very comprehensive survey. And it's a very high response rate personally, especially considering the fact that it's rather lengthy. It was about 30 questions this year. Um, and just to give a little bit of historical context as well, this is actually the seventh edition of the survey that we've done. The first one we did many years ago was actually after our transition to Canvas. And was largely used as kind of a needs assessment for classroom technology training. And every year it's grown and it's expanded. And within the last 3 years or so, we've really expanded to the more holistic faculty experience, asking things about, how does a faculty member feel? Do they feel like they belong to a community? Or do they feel valued? Things like that. So you can see in our response rate here in the charts here on the left, we asked faculty to please select your faculty role at UAGC. We had 54 full-time faculty respond and 954 associate faculty. And then at what level do you teach? They were able to choose more than one if applicable. We had 782 respond for undergraduate, 355 for graduate, and 108 for doctoral. So a nice spread of our faculty, nice representation of our faculty body. So then we kind of dive further into, to what extent are you dissatisfied or satisfied with your experience at UAGC as a faculty member? We kind of start very broad and ask them to just reflect overall, how do our faculty feel about their experience as a faculty member? And we have 25% who respond with 10 out of 10 completely satisfied, 17% with extremely satisfied, 23% at very satisfied, then 18% at somewhat satisfied. So a lot of very high rankings on the positive side for our faculty experience overall rating. But the nice thing about this survey is we've done it so consistently over the years that we're now able to kind of see what that looks like year over year. So we can see 2022, we had about a 7.84. 2023, we jumped up to an 8.22. And then as we move to this to more of an academic year cycle for 24-25, we see a little bit of a dip down to 7.86 from the last time we conducted the survey. We ask our faculty to please rate their overall satisfaction with the UAGC Canvas classroom experience. And for that, we have 53% completely satisfied, 37% somewhat satisfied, and then 1, 6, and 3 at completely neither or somewhat dissatisfied. So very, very high ratings for the Canvas classroom experience. We do utilize Canvas as our LMS here at UAGC. And in addition, and like the last slide we were looking at, we can now compare this data year over year, and we can see all the way back to 2019, and then 20 all the way up through 24, 25, starting 4.35, 4.46, 4.45, 4.44, 4.52, and 4.34, which gives us a really nice kind of consistency, in the overall, Canvas classroom satisfaction rating for our faculty as well. But in my mind, where we really start to get into some of the most useful and pertinent feedback is when we start to dive into the very specific pieces of our classroom. So we ask our faculty, to what extent are you dissatisfied or satisfied with the following UAGC classroom tools and resources? And we can see very, very high satisfaction level ratings for a lot of the native Canvas classroom tools like announcements, the gradebook, inbox. We see some very, very high ratings for that. And then a little bit lower for discussions, to be certain, but SpeedGrader, absolutely a faculty favorite here as well. We do see some lower satisfaction rates for Waypoint, which is a product that we use internally for assessment and for written assignment feedback purposes. And then Signals is also a little bit lower rated, another internal tool that we've built to do student outreach via email. But both systems, to be frank, could use some updates, could use some refreshes, and that's reflected in our faculty feedback. We do also offer the opportunity for faculty to leave textual feedback and open response feedback at points throughout the survey, which is valuable in helping to build out these tools and improve the overall experience. We also asked faculty about how they feel about the help menu, Turnitin, which we use for academic integrity purposes, the Canvas video audio recorder, the mobile app, which is also, you can see the bar there goes much less far to the right because there are less faculty that are using the Canvas mobile app. And then we ask also about our various e-textbook platforms, including Constellation, which is our proprietary unique textbook platform that we utilize internally for a lot of our internally published books. We also ask about the faculty portal and of course survey, how faculty feel about the course design and setup, which is especially important for our environment because we utilize a master course shell model to where most of our curriculum is basically set. So a faculty member doesn't necessarily have access to as many settings as they might at other institutions, which is why we actually asked them this year how they feel about their access to classroom settings. So lots of really, kind of useful nuggets here as we start to kind of break down the faculty classroom experience. I'd just like to take a moment, for folks to kind of think about, if you were to ask your faculty or your students, even better yet, similar questions about their classroom experience, would your faculty or students respond similarly about their online classroom experience? And then what do you think would be their favorite and or least favorite features based on your learning ecosystem? We also asked our faculty, so I was mentioning the tool that we utilize, Waypoint, where our faculty are able to use it to assess work and then leave in-text feedback and overall comments for students. But there's a lot of really, really valuable assessment data that comes from the back end of Waypoint as well. So we partnered with our assessment team and they asked our faculty to consider the rubrics that they use to grade student assignments in Waypoint and then to rate their level of agreement with the following statements. And then we can see the highest ratings. We can see in the purple, most of the faculty agree Pretty straight across the board. The rubrics align closely with respective assignments. The rubrics accurately assess student learning. The length of the rubrics is appropriate for the rigor of the assignments. And then a little bit of more mixed feedback where faculty disagree a little bit that the rubrics are too specific to adequately assess the course learning outcomes, which is a good thing in this sense. We also asked our faculty, in collaboration with the various departments that I mentioned, to rate their level of satisfaction working with the following resources and teams. So we're seeing very, very high, probably actually the highest level rating of satisfaction looks like it's in support from faculty's program chairs and faculty leadership, which is fantastic. We love to hear that faculty are feeling a good connection with their faculty leadership. But also seeing very, very high ratings for, UAGC Library, the Writing Center, technical support, support from faculty affairs, faculty scheduling, and then a little bit lower for student advising. And it might just be because they don't work as closely with them all of the time, or it's a little bit more of a limited perspective. And maybe not as high in the tutoring. It looks like potentially an area of opportunity as well, which our teams have noted and we'll also be implementing feedback upon. Uh, so next, we asked our faculty, in which of the following areas would you like to improve your teaching practices? And then select all that apply. So this is a really, really valuable tool when we're able to, plan out our professional development for the year. 44% of faculty said that they would like to improve teaching practices and feedback strategies, followed by 38% in best practices in online teaching and learning. Next, 26% for university policies, 24% for technology and navigating the classroom. And then a little bit lower rated, we're looking at assessment and evaluation, instructor presence engagement, time management, workload balance, and then culture of care being rated lowest. And not necessarily because of faculty disagreeing with a culture of care, but as we can we'll look at some tables in our later slides that our faculty have embraced culture of care. I feel like we've done a really good job of training them on that and really indoctrinating that. So faculty feel like they're comfortable with it, they're on board. I feel like that's why that one is a little bit lower, but very, very valuable feedback from our faculty here in where they would like to work. We asked our faculty how knowledgeable they feel as a faculty member regard to the university's policies and resources available to support students. 51% saying somewhat knowledgeable, and then 38% completely knowledgeable. So faculty feel mostly comfortable, or most at least somewhat knowledgeable about the resources available. And then asking, our faculty kind of in the vein of looking at PD and professional development, recognizing that the majority of UAGC faculty are educator practitioners who balance teaching and real-world application in their field. How would you rate your level of expertise in teaching practices? And 50% of our faculty rated themselves an expert, 41% as skilled, only 8% is proficient, and then 2% developing, none a beginner, which is a good indicator of how our faculty feel about that. We polled our faculty on what platforms do they use most frequently to find UAGC news, information, resources, and learning opportunities. And we can see from the chart here that the weekly faculty digest that we've created over the years is definitely one of the highest rated places where faculty get their news from. And then very, very closely to that as well as from department level and program related emails from faculty leadership. Among the lowest, we see social media. Social media doesn't necessarily seem to be a place our faculty go for news or information. And then we have other resources that are somewhere in the middle: the faculty affairs website, staff council updates, and then the faculty help website, all falling somewhere in the middle there. So, and then following up, we wanted to know, for the platforms ranked lowest, we asked why faculty did not use them. And then 48% said that they never necessarily needed the resource, which makes sense for some cases. And then 22% didn't know that they existed. So maybe some opportunities to get the word out a little bit more. Do not feel the resources are applicable to me, a little bit less. I'm not satisfied with the functionality. That was very low at 7%, and then 7%, I'm not satisfied with the information provided. So as we get into, talking about, some of the interesting things about like what motivate our faculty, what makes them feel valued. We've asked them to sort their top motivations for teaching at UAGC. And we see, definitely our highest rated, factor here is that our faculty are here to serve our at-risk students, and to help them improve the lives of our student body, which is exactly what we assume, that our faculty are there. But it's really, really nice to feel to see that confirmation and see the data to back it up. Our faculty also enjoy being part of a learning community, honing their own instructional practice, trying new technologies, and then a little bit less for contribution to the field, and then compensation and benefits being rated the lowest, here, where that's the lowest motivation for our faculty. To what extent do they disagree or agree with the following elements of their experience teaching? So we see very, very, strong reaction to our faculty feeling that UAGC has created a culture of care successfully, which we love to see. um, we see a little bit more, also very positive feedback in, UAGC supporting and fulfilling their motivations. They feel valued for contributions, valued as a faculty member. They feel like they're part of a community, which is so important when we're trying to build an online community. And then they also feel UAGC has created a culture of care for faculty. The one, here that we do notice is probably the lowest rated would be, faculty. It's a little bit more of a mixed reaction, when asked if they feel like they are fairly compensated. And that is a theme that we've seen, year over year with our faculty, and their feedback is, they do feel like they could be compensated more fairly, which is good feedback to have. Like I mentioned, this year we actually collaborated with our faculty council for the first time. So there are a couple of questions here that are specific to our faculty council, and faculty involvement in that. In last year's survey, UAGC faculty indicated that they would like more involvement, in academic decision-making processes. So to that end, how involved are you currently in the academic program review? We had about 39% say that they were satisfied with the involvement in the program review. 20% did not know what the academic program review was. 27% wanted to participate in the program review but weren't sure how. And then 14%, were okay with not being involved in the program review. We also asked, how involved are you in faculty council and its subcommittees? And 74% are not at all involved, in faculty council or subcommittees, which, as we have a very, very large associate faculty body, it's hard to get a lot of representation for faculty council, which is understandable. But it's really good to see, and have a sense of how the associate faculty and other faculty members feel about that. So it's good to have this data to back that up. 13% only a little involved, 7% somewhat involved, but we have 3%, mostly involved, and then 3% very or completely involved, which is also good to see. We have a dedicated group that is very, very dedicated to, investing in faculty council and moving that important work along. And then we finally asked, how involved would faculty like to be with the council and its subcommittees? And then, we do see quite a few who faculty are okay with not being involved, or some would like to be only a little, or some would like to be somewhat, but, the vast majority are okay. Which makes sense. I mean, a lot of our faculty are, working professionals. It's extra time that they're dedicating to teaching to us. So to dedicate extra time to a faculty council, especially, synchronous opportunities during the day, it's kind of hard sometimes. So I think that feedback makes sense in this case. So one of the questions that we added this year that I was really excited about, because I think it's a really good, it's a good indicator if a faculty member feels valued, and if they feel like they're contributing, and if they feel like they're part of a community. But, as almost, as just another additional way to kind of pull that, we wanted to ask, how likely are they to recommend UAGC as a place to work, to other educators, which I think is a really, telling, piece, I guess, when you talk about workplace climate, or just an overall faculty experience. And 49% of our faculty are completely likely to recommend UAGC as a place to work for other educators, which I think is fantastic. With 26% being somewhat likely, 13% neutral, and then 5% somewhat likely, 7% very unlikely. And that being said, I know that I've highlighted a lot of positive things, in this survey, and done some back padding. However, there are absolutely areas of concern that have come up, over and over again throughout the survey, and some of those pieces are the ones that we really want to try to focus on, improving for our faculty 100%. So a theme that has come up, is there are certain technology tools that really could use some updating and modernizing. Waypoint absolutely being on that list. Signals being another one on that list. And I'm really excited to say that we're doing some very serious, investigating into what it would look like to potentially not work in Waypoint anymore. Largely based on, faculty and student feedback over the years and just needs to, continually fix, a product that we support internally. So there are conversations that are ongoing right now. I don't want to reveal too much about the exploration that's taking place, but very serious look being taken at potentially changing some of those solutions. And then desires for new ways to engage students. I mean, that's a theme that we hear, over and over again from our faculty is like, discussions are good. And we've done a lot, over the years to, I think, make them more interesting and to where, folks aren't just responding to the same question over and over again and to make them more engaging. But it's still hard sometimes to engage a classroom in that way. So some faculty are even asking for, like, what are ways that we can meet with students live? Like, what are some new ways that we can look at this? And we actually did conduct a pilot over the last academic year with a new tool called Yellow Dig to engage. We actually replaced our discussion forums in a subset of classes to test and see what that experience was like because we've had so much feedback about wanting new ways to engage our students. Um, like I mentioned before, on the previous slide, workload and compensation concerns are something that we've heard from our faculty. They would like to be paid more fairly. We do ask a lot of our faculty, and it is a heavy workload to teach our classes at 100%. Lack of recognition, that's, at 100% an area of opportunity, I think for our faculty body with any remote workforce. How do you do a recognition program right for a completely remote workforce? There are probably, we could do a whole presentation on what, a successful program like that could look like, but it's really hard, especially when we're so asynchronous to meaningfully recognize our faculty in the way that they really deserve. Another thing we've heard, especially this year, was concern over students submitting AI created work, and not really a way to be able to catch that or track that in a good way. And then general kind of lack of AI policy. I feel like, and we're not alone, when the AI monster, sort of stuck its head over the horizon and everybody was a little scared. We did a lot. We put out resources, we had some trainings, we were doing things, and now that's kind of settling. It's like, all right, well, what are we doing in the day-to-day with AI? How can we, make sure that we're, advising our make sure that we're advising our students in a responsible way, but also not shielding them from it because it's probably something they need to use in their work life. So what are, some responsible ways or new ways that we can really introduce our students to AI and, make sure that they're using it responsibly? And then another piece of feedback that we've gotten is inconsistency in teaching schedules, which does make a lot of sense because in some ways there's been changes over the years, and because we used to offer course starts, I mean, 50 weeks out of the year, and now that we've scaled that back a little bit, in addition to some regulatory pieces where we can't have people teaching over so many hours a week without, while still staying in an associate faculty role. So there's been some changes over that. So it definitely is understandable that we've received that feedback from our faculty. I know I kind of shared a lot in just over 20 minutes, but as kind of closing, I just want to ask those that are watching, what are some new ways that you can employ to maybe better capture feedback from your remote workforce? Hopefully there were a couple strategies here that might stick out or give you some ideas for how to engage your workforce. But yeah, I really appreciate you watching my recording of my presentation. And if you do have any questions or any follow-up items that you'd like to ask about, I'm definitely available. You can email me at cole.mcfarren@uagc.edu, cole.mcfarren@uagc.edu. Thanks for your time today. I hope you enjoy all the rest of the fantastic TLC sessions that'll be taking place.